Good evening and welcome to ReachLawyer Sóz. ReachLawyer Sóz is a program of ReachLawyer to discuss, debate, support issues and challenges faced by women at home, at work, and in the society. Untangled, Setting Her Free is a series of talks on the issues around domestic violence. Today's topic, Making a Healing Balm. Welcome to ReachLawyer Sóz. I would now like to hand over the session to our moderator, Ms. Mamata Ramapriya. Mamata, over to you.
Thank you. Scars heal, they say. Do they really? Well, many who have survived domestic violence have a different story to tell. Many say it takes a very long time to heal. Some say the scars are for a lifetime. What about children who are victims of domestic violence? Experts say the impact is severe and long. Is healing of these wounds, scars, bruises that are not visible ever possible? There are millions of questions and very few answers. Welcome to Untangled, Setting Her Free. We mark the 7th day of the 8-day talk series by ReachLawyer Sóz. This is a platform for you to reach out. We listen, we help, and we care. Reach out to us at askreachlawyer@gmail.com. Life is beautiful, and let's talk how we can heal, says Bindu Bhatia. Today's speaker, Ms. Bindu Bhatia, is an author, facilitator, consultant, and coach to build winning mindset and culture. She's the MD and founder of New Code Talent Academy. She runs non-profit forums like Positive Lights, New Code YouTube channel, and multiple social groups dedicated to support, help people in distress, depression, and relationship issues. Her initiatives like Positive Lights, Detox, 30-day challenges have helped thousands of people in their personal and professional life. In COVID times, she ran special free sessions and coaching camps for students and professionals in distress. She is passionate about building emotional intelligence in the society and believes that this subject needs a deeper intervention with a focus on mindset and culture. We welcome you, ma'am. The floor is yours.
Hi, Mamta. Thank you so much for the lovely, lovely introduction. And I'm very, very honored, humbled, and very grateful for being invited to such a lovely platform. I'm absolutely in sync and I'm already part of Sóz. So over to you. Should I start with the questions or answers? I'm here to answer any questions that you have.
Yes, ma'am, sure. So we do have a few thoughts, right? So the idea is, often individuals who are survivors of domestic violence are expected to move on. That's like a social push that they have, right? You move on, you let go, you get free. Most people do not pay attention to the need for healing. We always talk about therapy or being self-love, but it's never defined because each one has a different way of healing. All traumatic experiences have different way of healing. How is healing a necessary part of moving on, especially after such abusive relationships?
Beautiful question, and a lot of questions inside one. So let me start step by step to understand what are we talking about when we say move on, right? Now, we're talking about domestic violence victims. But tell me, when you see a child, right, who's crying, who's profusely crying, what's the first thing that an adult tell the child? The first thing that you tell them?
It's usually, either don't cry, it doesn't look good on you, or probably the gender stereotype that boys shouldn't cry.
Yes. So irrespective of genders, Mamta, the first reaction is don't cry. Now, starting from that smaller thing to coming to telling people who have been through so much of trauma in their life, saying don't cry, move on, it's all frivolous. We as a society, as people, need to understand that you cannot distract people from their emotions. Saying don't cry is not to heal them. Saying don't cry to someone is actually your own inability to deal with the emotion that the person is going through in front of you. And that's why you want to just distract. And sometimes, we don't even know how to talk to people who are going through distress. So I think the first thing that all of us need to learn is, what is real empathy? Is it about just saying, oh, move on, look at the brighter side of life, look, there's such a bright future, you have so many skills, oh, this person went through so much, you've gone through nothing. Now, all of these come very naturally to each one of us. I'm sure all of us have said that once or twice to people, right? At least once or twice in a life. Now, what I'm saying is that if you tell all of this to people, you are taking them away from the real emotions that they are going through inside. And that is the worst thing we can do, because at that moment, maybe the person gets distracted, positive, whatever it, transforms the person into. But those emotions, the residual emotions, are not dealt with. They are inside. And then we're talking about the next part of your question is that, why healing is a necessary part. Now, these residual emotions that I have collected in my subconscious, which I have not dealt with, they, if not dealt with on time, can create havoc in your mind and in your body. And, during this program, I'll share with you some anatomy of emotions, what are they, how they impact the body. But then, yes, this is a proven research-based concept. If you can't feel it, you cannot heal it. So the first rule to everyone, please stop saying don't cry. Go let the person cry, let the people vent out, let them share their emotions, let them accept their emotions before you tell them to move on. Yeah, so that's my first answer, Mamta. Thank you for that awesome question. So let me just continue till the time Mamta comes back. Why healing is a necessary part, like I said. If you're not healed from inside, one, of course, if you don't feel it, you can't heal it. And if you can't heal it, the next chapter of your life, there is another very interesting quotation that I absolutely love, is hurt people hurt people. If you are hurt inside, this hurt will reflect on the residual relationships in your life. Consciously, unconsciously, you will end up hurting people. So this whole healing cycle really helps you move on. So over to you, Mamta.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. At this juncture, I would also like Venkatesh sir on, so that he could address a few questions.
Hello. Such a joy to have you today in this program with someone who is written such a beautiful book and someone who is conducting such a wonderful program on emotional intelligence, practicing emotional intelligence. It's a great pleasure that we have you today at ReachLawyer Sóz. We're also working on similar areas, but our expertise relates to more into litigation and legal advice and some amount of counseling. But some great amount of professional approach is needed to this issue. The very purpose of this program is towards that, to see that how we create an environment of listeners, an environment of counselors, so that women in domestic violence can find someone with whom they can share, with whom they can seek advice, who can get some good options to know about what exactly the choices that they have. In fact, that's the reason why the entire ReachLawyer Sóz program is initiated. We are collaborating with people like you, and it's such a pleasure that you people have accepted to be part of this process. We have one important thing, keep making announcements here, that anyone who is in need of some legal advice relating to domestic violence, those persons can straight away mail to us at askreachlawyer@gmail.com. We will respond to you. We have a team of lawyers, activists, persons who have so much of concern towards the rights of the people. This is one area which we have been very sincerely doing. If you have any issues, just you can mail us at askreachlawyer@gmail.com. Going back to the subject, Bindu, is that one of the major challenges we come across is the scars of domestic violence. The scars of domestic violence live longer. A woman who is a victim may become a survivor. She may have a life beyond, but the scars live longer. Scars live longer, and we have come across many who have been very successful too, who are also part of the ReachLawyer Sóz program. They say sometimes it hurts. Sometimes is that chunk of my life has been taken away. So that kind of thing. How are we? The kind of the burning, the kind of pain which continues to exist, despite the fact that there are no visible bruises, there are no visible scars. These scars continue to exist. It's one of the major challenges. So that's one of the areas. While we may be able to talk regarding the listening a part of it, we may be part of counsel them, we may be part of providing options and legal assistance, all those things apart. This aspect is something which is a lingering issue which continues to haunt millions in this world. That's what in our reading in last 1 year on the subject of domestic violence, we found that it keeps lingering in the mind of the people for very, very, very long time. How are we to address that? And that's something, the major aspect which we want you to delve upon. You take your time, absolutely you are free. Because this is one area which the people at ReachLawyer Sóz and people who are coming to us are waiting to know. How are we? Because all this is fine, but how are we? These scars are so long to heal. Is something which is difficult for them to even accept that. See that, can there be a possibility? Is there a hope? Is there a possibility that I can become normal, or is it going to be with me all the time to come? How am I to address this? Is some aspect which I request you to delve upon. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you. And this is one place, one area, sir, that I have been working since the year 2004. And in that process, learning about emotional intelligence, learning about how to heal therapy processes, what I came across was a very, very strong concept which helped me heal from my traumas, called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And with this journey, what I realized was that the scars that we are talking about, the emotions, the hurt that we are talking about, we are just feeling them. And once we understand the anatomy of emotions, how are they created inside, what's happening inside myself, it just answers so many things. That healing process begins. So my work is largely around making people aware that it is possible to heal. It is possible to not feel as much emotion as you do now for a particular memory. It is possible to absolutely recover, be in the present, look into your future, no matter what you have gone through. There is this one very famous quote in a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. In fact, before that, it is also written in our Gita. But let me tell you this, 10% of our life, whatever happens, 10% is always out of our control. You can call it as destiny or something you can't do anything about. However, that will come to everyone, each human being. That's like a googly. You don't know what to do. There is no control over it. However, the rest of the 90% of your life is based on how you react to that 10%. And let me begin with explaining you what is the process. Once this part is understood by people who are watching me, who are listening to me, it will become extremely easy to follow the healing process. Yeah. So let me begin with quick understanding, or maybe a quick question. So maybe, Mamta and others on this meeting, please do come and answer these questions that I am talking about, right? Just to have that understanding, right? Now, if I were to ask you, do you know how many, and make a ballpark, okay? And all of you who are watching us on YouTube and other live, do write down, okay, your answers. Tell me, how many emotions do you think exist inside us? How many can we name? Any
9.
number? 9, okay, that's a good guess. As per the research, through fMRIs, through a lot of neuroscience-based research, there are 25,000 types of emotions. There are 2,500 names that they have given to emotions. Yeah. So many emotions getting into our system. Now, if I were to ask you question number 2, do you know how many emotions do we go through a normal day? In a normal day, when there is nothing that happens. So how many emotions do you think a human being must be going through?
After knowing the ballpark of that, I'm just thinking.
Good, make a logic.
Probably around 50.
Around 50. Okay. So as you know, in one day, as we speak, right, a normal human being goes through 300 to 400 emotions in a normal day. You know, sipping that cup of water or having that sip of tea also generates a lot of emotion, right? Small, big, whatever intensity it is, 300 to 400. Now, my question to all of you is that what are these emotions? What is the composition of emotions in our life? I mean, in the brain. What are we talking about here? So let me share with you one quick example. So Mamta, tell me, when you go through anger, you know, when you're very angry, I'm sure all of us get angry. So when you get angry, where on the body do you feel that anger? Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, it's okay. I think probably, I'm not sure. The whole anger and frustration is usually in the stomach, and we start sweating.
Sweating, yeah, that's a good sign. So sweating, I feel it in my throat. There are people who feel it in the head. Now, when you're nervous, where do we feel emotions?
In the abdomen.
Yeah, butterflies in the tummy. Then there are, you know, the trembling hands and the trembling legs, right? Now, when we are sad, we feel emotions somewhere in the body, right? Now, what is the composition of this emotion? Why is it, how is it making our body feel it? So what we need to understand is that emotions are nothing but chemicals. This is all chemical locha, as said in Munna Bhai, MBBS movie. They're all chemicals. They are released by the brain. And because it's too much sometimes, brain sends it to the body. Now, in a regular, and these chemicals are released in a very, very nominal fashion. These chemicals have energies, these chemicals have frequency. These are nothing but some currents that are sent to the body. So if you look at a laptop, you connect a laptop to the charger. You have a regular current that goes into laptop to keep it alive, right? Similarly, our brain is connected to the body, and brain sends as much of frequency and current that is required for our body parts to work properly on a normal day, right? However, tell me what will happen, Mamta, if we plug in the charger and there is, instead of 220 volts, there is 300 volt current that's going on. What will happen?
I think it's very rare that the laptop can take it. It'll probably just heat up and burst after
It will heat up. If there is 440 volts, it will blast.
It'll blast,
right?
Yeah, it'll burst.
Now, even a single laptop cannot take so much of current. Similarly, it's just an analogy. In our brain, when these chemicals are released, these are going to different parts of the body. These are extra currents, right? These are extra currents that are going into different parts of the body, and they are messing up with the function of that particular organ. That's why there is a lot of mind-body connection. Stress is connected to BP. There are thyroid issues connected to emotional reasons, communication issues. I can show you a very interesting slide that talks about this mind-body connection. Okay, this is not something that I'm making up. This is something that even in our Ayurveda, in ancient wisdom of India, sorry, I'm just going to share this one. So in ancient wisdom of India, it is all there, all your answers, whatever you're asking, it's all there. The only problem is that we need some simple translation. So that's what even I'm doing through New Code Talent. And I'm going out and out. I've been day in, day out, educating people on these things. How is it connected? So think about it. A burden, if you're facing burden in your life, it is directly connected to your shoulders or issues in the back. Guilt and shame or feeling of unworthiness is connected to your gut. So there are, the concept of chakras, and you can get into, as much as the wisdom that we have, but it's all logic. It's all driven by logic. And the logic is that your emotions carry energy. And these energies that are released, if they are not released outside, if you keep it inside, if you don't heal, this energy, this residual energy will keep messing up with your system. Hence, it is important to heal yourself. It is important to understand that there are a lot of ways in which we can heal. It is possible to heal. There are many, many examples of women who I have personally coached who there are transformational stories for them. And they never felt that healing could be so easy. We do a workshop, we do a program called Neuro-Linguistic Programming Practitioner, where we specifically take people who want to heal. And these are some subconscious ways of helping people heal through commands to brain. So I will stop here and would just want to understand if so much is clear. Then I can talk about how to heal. But is this much clear, Mamta? Is it making sense? Any questions that you have so far? So good?
Yeah, it's definitely clear.
So what we are talking about is the emotion that is generated in the brain, right? And how it impacts. Now I'm going to take a step back. And I want to, you to think through that what makes our brain generate that emotion. If we were to figure out a formula, I'm talking logic here. If we are to figure out the formula of what makes brain generate these emotions, we can manage, we can change the algorithm, and we can stop releasing those negative emotions, right? So that's the formula that I'm going to talk about now. Yeah. So when we talk about our brain, right, from the evolution, the way it started, the core responsibility of our mind, our brain, is to make us survive. All the algorithms are in here, make us survive. And hence, any information that we perceive as threat makes the brain generate this chemical, these emotions. So whenever we feel that there is a threat, there is a fear, there is something that is a danger to my body, my survival, whenever we perceive and we tell our brain, oh my God, this happened to me, that's about it. Brain says, aye, captain, this happened to you, let me release emotions. And brain will automatically release those, emotions of sorrow, grief, that will, help you victimize yourself and go into your shell. Now, one thing that we need to understand about brain is, and Mamta, I'll call you again once more, just to make things easy for our viewers to understand. Now tell me, Mamta, if we're working on a laptop, we're working on a computer, right? Let's take that as an analogy of a brain. If you're writing on a Word document, if you don't press enter, will the cursor go down? It won't, right? If you don't put the start button, will the laptop start working?
No, it won't.
It won't. So what are we saying? The key thing here is that it is us who give that command to our own brain to function. So if you're going up there talking about your story, now we have last 6 days, we have already talked about what is domestic violence, why this happened to me, what are different options. ReachLawyer is there for you to help through, listen to you. But my point is that you have learned about domestic violence. Now is the time that even if you have come out of it, that healing process starts with your commands to your brain. What are you telling your brain? What are you telling yourself? So, a very unfortunate time that happened in my life when my child went through something very unfortunate. And I was very disturbed. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen to my child? What is this, all about? Now, what do I do? And fortunately, at that time, I was absolutely blank. And fortunately, I got to meet some very, very nice folks, very nice child counselors. And one thing that resonated with me was that it's not important what your child went through. That will happen throughout life. Something or the other will keep happening with you, your child, anybody. What is more important is how we are translating that event in our mind. And that was the time when I translated that event to my child, saying that, you know what? You're the bravest girl I have seen in my life. You saved so many kids. And that was true. I forced myself to not victimize, because that's a game that our brain plays. Tell me, Mamta, if somebody in our life, so you're staying with your parents or sibling, whoever, so, they go out of the house and they say, we'll come back in 1 hour. It's been 3 hours, they're not back. Okay, their phone is not reachable. What's the first thing that will come to your mind?
Oh, I think, where did they go? Is there a problem?
Is there a problem? And that is another thing we need to learn about brain. That the first thing, when things go wrong in our life, when things go unexpected, when we don't know what is in future, right? When we don't have that certainty, the first thing that comes to our mind, our brain is naturally programmed to be negative. It will keep telling you what can go wrong. And remember, the intent of our brain is to save us, and that's why it's telling us. But how do we take it? We keep repeating that story now, what will happen, and we keep victimizing ourselves. So that's my first message to all the domestic violence survivors who want to move on. Check your story. What are you telling yourself? What are you commanding your brain? If you tell your brain that, oh my God, this happened to my life. Why did this happen to me? This is not fair. Life is not fair for me. What emotions do you think brain will release? Brain is buddhu. That brain doesn't know what command are you giving. Brain will just follow your command. So if you are victimizing yourself, you are reiterating the story like a victim. What will happen is your brain will keep repeating those emotions in your brain, in your mind, in your body. You'll keep releasing, and you will get into a very vicious cycle. So the first message to all these survivors from my side is that please check the story you're telling yourself, because that's the command you're giving to your brain. Be the hero of your story. Yes, hero also do get beaten up, but then they bounce back. So be the hero of your story. Tell your brain, push your brain. Your brain will try to, the natural dialogue, the inner dialogue, if you just let it be, it'll try to make you feel as miserable as you can, because it feels safe in that zone. You get sympathy in that zone. Then that's the time to change the story. Do it yourself. If you're not able to do it yourself, seek help. Have some friends, positive people around, join forums to see how other people have, translated their stories. But the first step is of healing is to check what is the story you're telling yourself. It's been a long monologue. And while I know it is supposed to be monologue, but I just want to pause here and check how any thoughts, any questions so far that you've received or you want to ask.
Yeah, so you mentioned the idea of, joining forums, having friends, talking about such stuff, right? But it so happens that in our society, we tend to keep things private. And there is also comparison that is drawn in your mind when you start speaking with your friends who have better lives, who probably wouldn't have gone through any of this. So it's not just, I think it also adds on to your insecurities when you're already at that low. How do you think survivors can deal with this sort of emotion?
So I will share with you some information around this. Very good question, and thank you for asking that. Now, let me start from the beginning. When a person goes through a trauma, at that time, telling them be a hero might not be the right thing to do. So all of us as society first need to understand that there are stages of trauma. The moment that event occurs, the first thing our brain gets into is a shock. A shock state is a reactive stage. You don't know when a brain gets into a shock stage, the logical brain shuts down, the emotional brain shuts down. All you are in is left with a shock, maybe some shocking reaction, something that is not in your control, right? The second reaction is denial or retreat. No, this can't happen. Maybe this happened just for the first time. I'm sure the domestic violence survivors will resonate with what I'm saying. I've met with a lot of, even some of my very close friends who have been going through violence. And when I ask them, how could you just take it? And they're like, no, this is just one time. Maybe he was angry. Maybe, he had a bad mood. Excuse me. So we've talked about all of that, but nobody has that right. But then our brain naturally gets us into that denial or retreat mode. The next part, when they realize, when the reality sets in, then people get into that anger and rage. Why did this happen to me? They might take any decision, right? They, even if you talk about after domestic violence, after going through all the process of separation, even then it's a change, it's a shock of separation, it's a shock of a new life. You deny that, no, it's not helping me, it's not impacting me, not helping me, it's not impacting me. You can deny it all. You might get into that stage where you also go to pubs, you enjoy, you do everything that you could. So that's the denial mode. You're not addressing the feeling that is happening inside, the emotions that are generated inside in your subconscious. And those feelings, when they get into subconscious, they start creating havoc, and suddenly you will see these people getting into sudden rages. They'll get angry, they'll start acting up, they start talking about it, and in a lot of anger, rage, complaints. And after this stage, once the emotions come out, this is the stage when you want to blur out all those emotions, when you need a lot of help for people to listen to you, hear you out in all the stages. You need people, you need those support groups to just listen, not judge, just listen, right? And finding these people in life is tough because all of us are conditioned in some way or the other, and I have been hearing all the talks, when these people go to their parents, even they don't listen. Even they start sympathizing or maybe start saying moving on. But where you can take out or blur out is the emotion is this stage, and this is the stage when you really need somebody to listen. But after this stage, once it is out, the emotions are out, the logical brain starts working, and that's when there is an acknowledgement of loss. That, yeah, you know what? I agree, this is what happened. I agree, these many years of my life got wasted. I agree, I was hurt. There's no ego, no self-defense. You get into that stage that, yes, you know what? This happened in my life. And that is the real level of acceptance, a feeling of okayness, permitting yourself to even cry, even in this stage of acceptance. You'll feel some emotions, but those will be venting out emotions, the release of emotions, because internally somewhere you've developed that kind of okayness with what has happened. The next part is, once you have developed okayness, is to really look at commitment and adaptation to the new normal. This is what it is now. What do I do now? And that's when you take the risk, you go out, you rebuild your life. Now, this is the entire cycle. What is our role? See, if you look at this, it's not necessary everybody goes through this cycle like this. There are some people for whom the cycle is very quick. And there are some people for whom the cycle just go on and on and on, and it goes down and leads to depression. What's the difference? Why are there some people for whom the recovery is quick, and why the recovery is very slow for some? And that's the question that I'll answer next. But before that, any questions that you have, anything that I can answer, Mamta? Is that clear?
Yes, ma'am, it's clear. I think with this aspect of anger and rage that you expressed, right? So we do have a question. Ma'am, you mentioned a very interesting phrase, right? Initially, you said hurt people, hurt people. We understand that there may be several psychological predispositions that may cause a person to react in such a violent way against their partner or any other family member. But are those psychological causes or even rage justified to be an excuse for violence?
No, not at all.
So even when someone, when we talk about domestic violence, we always portray the abuser to be, someone who's of a bad character, who's intent to hurt someone. But because this is a session where we talk about healing, don't you think even the person there also has those, different daunting circumstances that they go through which results in healing? Which results in domestic violence.
Oh, yeah.
So when you say a survivor, when we say a survivor has to, essentially get out of this, move on, and even if they do, there are places. So we have come across stories where the woman might probably see someone who's of the same height, the same physique, and they are led back to those circumstances of their abusers. So even if you move on, those daunting circumstances are, so it's inflicted so much in your heart that you're not able to get out of it. So do you think just speaking to people and putting effort and the whole idea of self-love helps, for them to move on?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it helps. So in your last 1 minute, there are a lot of threads I would like to pick up. And one of the thread that I understand you picked up was about the abuser himself. Why is he an abuser? There were a lot of documentaries around the people, Nirbhaya case, the people who were involved in it. Now going through the journey of theirs is not in no way going to just surpass or give them a leeway of, okay, because this happened, no, you don't have that right. Absolutely no. But the point is that they also went through counseling. When we are coaches, when we are counselors, we don't see that this is a victim or the perpetrator. We only see how can I heal you so your future gets better. Now, these people, when they get into rage, they get into that anger, they get into, hitting someone. Anger is one form of, or the highest form of fear that they are going through, they are dealing with. Some beliefs that they are dealing with. Now, since this forum is not about the other side of the story, but I just wanted to put that out there that, while, there is no excuse, but yes, there is a merit to even raise our children in a way that they don't get those fears. They understand the opposite gender, right? They know the limits, they know their belief systems are more open than they were earlier, right? The patriarchal history that we have, it's changing in the urban areas, and I'm very happy to see that go, but there's a long way to go. Now let's come back to the victims, the people who have been there, they stood up for themselves, they separated, and now they're looking back at the scars that they've got. Obviously, the brain is in shock mode. Obviously, brain has learned that brain is intelligent. It has learned that this particular kind of relationship gave me hurt. Now, how does brain learn? Do you know that? There are two kids in the same family, right? They see their parents fighting day in, day out, right? Now, one kid bangs the door one day and say, "Oh my God, this is so frustrating. I'm never going to marry. I'm happy alone. I don't like talking like this. It's better that I read my books and have my own ways to live my life." And the second kid bangs the door with equal frustration and says, "Oh, damn, this is frustrating. I'm never going to have a partner like this who doesn't understand. I will focus more on creating trust. I'll never speak to someone like that. I will respect." Now tell me, with the lives of two people, will it be same? And these are the translations, Mamta. This is how our brain learns. We make it learn. We translate the stories. And we make the brain learn. People who say, "No, I can't get out of my scars," are the ones who these scars are serving some purpose to them. Everyone can deal with their scars. And this is a statement I'm giving you. Come to New Go Talent, attend our courses, don't worry about fee. Attend our courses, you will know how to heal yourself. Everybody can, but the point here is, Mamta, that you need to give yourself that permission. You need to be open to healing. And when you're open to healing, you'll need to, it's like Band-Aid, right? You put Band-Aid on a very heavy wound, and now you want to put a better medicine. But then when you rip off that Band-Aid, it'll pain more, right? That's the pain that people want to avoid. They want the Band-Aid to be there and the wound to be open. It'll cause you occasional hurt. But what I'm saying is, rip off that Band-Aid once and then put the right medicine. And that's the healing process, right? You go back to that memory, acknowledge that memory, accept that memory, feel your feelings, and then take the learning, make a translation of that memory. It happened, okay. Be the hero of your own story, right? That's the whole process of healing. Now, the point here is, why is the transition curve from shock to acceptance slower for some people and faster for some? And that's where I will come to the concept of beliefs. Yeah. The first thing, so Mamta, beliefs, what is the general understanding about beliefs? What role do beliefs play in our life?
I think belief is like a segue for order for most of us, that you believe in something, you're able to do it. You believe in something, it leads you to do something.
Belief for
It's like
us,
focus.
it sets focus, it helps us decide, right, how to behave with someone. So if I believe North Indians are like this, South Indians are like this, I'll behave with them like that, right? These are subconscious patterns. These are beliefs that we hold to be true. Now, there could be great beliefs, empowering beliefs, and there could be also limiting beliefs in our life, right? And who puts in their beliefs in us? We. So as per psychology, development psychology, if you look at how a child, how are these beliefs formed? These are algorithms of our brain, right? This is where that's how brain decides how to behave, what decision choices to make. So as per psychology, 2 years to 7 years is the age of a child when he or she is observing the world and creating their own translations about relationships, translations about money, translations around relatives, friends, family, work, everything. So can you believe a 7-year-old child already has what you call blueprint of his own personality? And then from 7 to 13 years, all they do is just keep validating it. See, this is what I believe, this is what's happening. And by the age we are teenagers, our beliefs are solid, and we're like, okay, you know what? Don't explain me. I know it because I have created a blueprint about myself. This is what I believe. Now, why am I picking this topic is because, and I'll fast forward this topic, but it's very, very interesting and important for everyone to know, that there are 3 limiting beliefs in the world, across the world, which cause you to linger out your pain, which become a block for your career, for your life, for your relationships, for healing, for anything. And if you are able to take care of those 3 limiting beliefs, all in your life will get settled. And these 3 limiting beliefs are: 1, I don't deserve. I'm not worth it. That's 1. And these beliefs are embedded or translated in my mind since childhood. I was not mature then, but boss, you're mature now. You can rework on those beliefs, right? But in childhood, if for some reason I realized that, okay, I'm not good enough, as good enough as others, I'll start comparing myself. You talked about comparison, and this is where I'm coming on. I compare myself with others because somewhere in myself, I don't believe that I'm good enough. And I'm continuously in that spree to prove it to the world that I'm good enough. So I'll do everything, right? And somebody who comes up and tells, oh, you didn't do it well, it hurts. Because now you know my secret, that I'm not good enough. And that's one thing that I want all women in the world, because there was a study done by Dove and said that 7 out of 10 women in the world feel that they are not good enough. They have a belief, not feel, they have a belief that they're not good enough. And incidentally, that is the same number of women in the world who go through domestic violence as well. So I haven't done any study whether there's a correlation or not, but I believe that yes. That bird who is sitting on a very high branch in a tree is never afraid of falling. Why? Why is she not afraid of falling? Even if somebody, just touches it, he'll get shocked, it'll go a little down, but then it'll fly off very quickly. Why? Because it has the belief on her wings. So women out there, create your wings. Have a belief in yourself. create that self-love, self-care regime. We have a YouTube channel as well, which is called New Code Talent, and it has a lot of such, 30-day emotional resilience challenge, a lot of videos around handling grief, trauma. You can go through a lot on Google. There are so many people who are out there to teach. Learn how to create that self-love, self-care, and you will see that your healing process gets faster. So that's something that I wanted to complete in my thoughts. So Mamta, over to you. Any other questions that you have? Some more things you would like me to talk about?
Yeah. So with this aspect of self-care and confidence and everything, right? But in an intimate relationship, I think the whole idea of affection towards the partner eclipses this idea of self-love, being confident, because our society, the whole patriarchal idea, right? It kind of makes women, they have this idea that they have to provide for the family. They have to be, I think we all have come across the quote, right? That a successful man always has a woman behind him, or some sort of a quote. So it kind of puts an obligation that a woman has to stay and be affectionate to the partner, however he is. So when this sort of an equation exists, the whole idea of self-love and courage and confidence is eclipsed by affection and love towards the partner. So we have seen cases where even though they're being abused, they're okay with it because they're affectionate towards their partners. So, and at that point of time, confidence and self-love is a contradicting emotion, right? So
Again,
how do you think?
there are two threads to what you have talked. And let me ask you a question, very tough question. You might kill me after this, but then let me go ahead and do this experiment. Mamta, if I come to you and tell you that you are not good at your work, do you agree? I've seen you from last one. You will not agree, right? So which society are you talking about? You have a choice. You have a choice. There is conditioning that is there in the society, but you always have a choice to break that bias. Why? Who are you? Right? So these conditioning, there is no law. You're working in a law firm. Is there any law which says that women have to be like this? There's no law. So who is taking that obligation? In fact, we are not serving our women across the world by serving that obligation. Please stop taking it. And yes, it needs courage. And that's why it is important that women support women. Have the support groups. I have been connected, fortunately, with a lot of groups. There is one called Sakhi. Maybe I'll give you the email ID later. But this is the group that has come up. This is led by Swati Sinha. This is the concept that she has come up with, that Bindu, I want to empower the women who feel they're not good enough. They want to get into the corporate life. They want to make their own living. They want to be financially independent, but they don't know how. Now, see, there are a lot of people out there who are ready to support you. Now it's up to you. You want to agree with societal norms, or do you want to love yourself first? Biggest mistake we as women do. I also did that, by the way. And I think that's, again, I don't want to blame it to the society. I blame myself that I took it up, right? Now, the point is that when we get married, we make our husbands the focal area of our life. This is my husband, this is my child, this is my life. So I give my 100%, put my all eggs in the same basket. And boss, it's not on, and even people who have awesome husbands, it's not fair. You're putting all your happiness into one person's basket, so he doesn't have even one leeway to make a mistake. So much of burden to keep you happy. Why? You make your life. You have different avenues to make yourself happy. And that's what is the concept of self-love. You're not dependent on one person for your happiness. And that doesn't mean I don't love the person. Love doesn't mean that you are just making the person claustrophobic and making them, putting your whole focus there. Love doesn't mean that. Love means freedom. I love you, you love me, great, and this is what I love doing more, right? So there are many nuances. Of course, time is short, but to answer your question, yes, self-love is important, and it is very harmful if after marriage we forget everything about ourselves, forget the regime that we had for our own self-care. Our body needs those positive strokes. We need those. So join groups, join, women support women, men support women. BT sir, I mean, I'm so I can't express in words how proud I am to have to even know you or be on the same platform. I mean, the kind of work you're doing for with SOS and all that you have been doing. I have heard so many stories, and we know each other for so long. But it's just amazing that there's so many people who are out there working selflessly. Then all we need is the positive strokes, move on, life is great. But yes, if the cycle for you, the negativity cycle for you has been more than an year, the trauma cycle, the grief cycle, if it is more than an year, then please seek professional help as quickly as possible. No, we can't handle all of it our own. No, we are not superwomen. Okay? People need people. Ask for help. There are many forums. Yes, Mamta.
Yes, ma'am. Also, we do have a question. So you mentioned this aspect of the two children processing it differently, right? So how is the process of healing for children different from adults? Or is it the same?
See, what happens is that children are not able to comprehend what's happening. They'll feel weird, they'll feel different. But by the time they comprehend, it's too late to act on it. Right? One is that. So it is important, if we come across a child who has been through domestic violence or abuse, there and then, how the child is translating that story, you help them. And this is not something that we as parents have also learned. My child comes to me and says, this Falana Damkana said this to me, is bullying me, or is saying that girls can't do this. There are times when, I have spent so much of time learning this stuff, I'm speechless, I don't know what to say. So as parents, don't think that we're equipped to handle everything. So it is important, if you feel your child has gone through or seen something as traumatic, then let them go to the professional child counselors. It's important to straighten up their translations. See, that is how people become abusers in the maturity stage, right? Because they have those residual emotions. They have seen abuse in their childhood, so they feel that it's okay to give back. They haven't dealt with those feelings. Right? So process for children is simpler. In fact, I would say that I deal with adults, and I think it is more difficult to break through an adult brain at times, because they already have set beliefs, emotions. So we need to, really do a lot of digging work to get that straight for them. For children, it's like, Hindi mein bolte hain, mitti ka ghada, how you shape them. So what is more important is that you put them in the right place. You put them for the right healing process with the right people. If you're able to do that, the child will become more resilient, more emotional intelligent than anyone. But if you don't do that, if you know that your child has been going through something and you don't do anything about it, then let me show you what happens. Okay, that can be very, very disastrous. It can be a big disaster. Let me show you one slide to, really let you know what happens. If the trauma is not taken care of in the childhood while the child is creating their belief system, it impacts their cognitive brain, okay, their readiness to learn, their problem solving capacity. They might not be able to learn language, delays hote hain, the concentration, attention span gets decreased. Physical health becomes a problem. Emotionally, they're wrecked. They don't know how to manage or control their emotions. They might even block emotions from them. You'll see they're absolutely not happy, not sad. They're just going there. They have a lot of shame and guilt inside them. They suffer in the relationships. They do go through mental health problems. It could be behavioral issues with the child, and the overall brain development, because that's a stage where you're shaping. And if they are not provided the right support, it can completely screw up the entire life script of yours. And that's why these are the children, these are the people who have that damaged inner child, right, which has never been addressed. These are the people who most likely will also become abusers. So that's the whole cycle. Any other questions for me, Mamta?
Yeah, I do. I think this is mostly of an observation kind of question as to how you mentioned confidence, moving on and everything. How would you address the aspect of denial? You denying that you actually went through something, because I think this is like a side effect of being confident. I'm not sure, but it's like when you're confident, you just feel like it's okay, nothing happened. I didn't go through anything. So I think you curb the process of actually realizing and addressing what really happened. How would you differentiate? How would you address the aspect of denial?
So aspect of denial is very internal, and it's not about confidence. It is about self-defense. This is called ego defense. Read about, and people, viewers also, just go Google the word ego defenses and you will get to know how many are you carrying. So it's also a way to defend you from any particular shock that might happen if you accept the truth. Now, what can you do about it? I mean, see, one thing that I've learned as a coach and as a therapist is that you can't heal a person who doesn't want to heal. Right? However, when denial doesn't stay for a long time, if things keep on going, it is the whole piled up emotions will erupt. If you see the person is in denial stage for a long time, they are very close to you, you want to do something about it, all you can do is create that awareness. Sessions like these, right? This is all that helps people to know, oh, you know what? This is something that I might be going through. I didn't even realize that getting hit is not normal, because I'm denying it because I saw my mom getting hit. So it's okay, right? So awareness sessions like these, movies, stories, these are the things to make people have that realization. Otherwise, it's like, don't think of a yellow elephant. I can tell you, don't think of a yellow elephant. Now, Mamta, what are you thinking? You just imagined a yellow elephant, didn't you? Yeah. So if you say, don't cry, don't feel this is what happened. Person is going to feel that. Does that answer your question?
It does. It definitely does. At this juncture, I would again want to put out that anyone who's want to address the domestic violence issues, please reach out to asklawyer.com. You can find it in the top left corner. We do have one more question. Yes. How does it feel to feel another person, especially a woman, who has just been through or experiencing domestic violence?
So there are two stages. One is they're experiencing the domestic violence, and second stage is when they have been through. So if they have been through, they're already out of the domestic violence, it is important to let the emotions come out. At that time, please don't start with the gyan. All we need to do is listen without judgment. Just let the person vent out in any way possible. There are a lot of therapy techniques that we as common people can also use. right? These days, there is no dearth of it, but help them, listen to them again and again. They might want to tell the story again till the time they feel healed. So my only suggestion would be to listen to them without judgments, without any gyan. And once you see that acceptance is coming in, plug in some empowering beliefs. There are two parallel paths. One is you went out your anger, you went out all that you're going through, feel the emotions, accept them. Yeah, this is something that's happening. You need to believe that they will go, right? If you're feeling them, they will heal. Second journey that you need to start is the self-love journey. I think the core is that positive can remove the negative. So start giving yourself positive strokes. There are a lot of ways to do that. Pursue hobby, make awesome friends, get into some circles, stay away from toxic relationships, see what people are telling you. And, just see which ones do you want to let in your mind and which ones you want to reject. Like Mamta rejected my statement around her. And yeah, you have all the rights to reject. I don't want to take, even if they are your parents, for that time, if you're not getting that support, lingering on, I understand we need our parents. I understand that. But if that support is not being given, they're not listening, you owe to yourself. So I think those are certain inputs that I would give you. Okay? Work on your self-esteem and acknowledge emotions, vent it out. If there's no one to listen to you, write it out.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So you mentioned the aspect of gyan, right? So I just have a question there, because say, as from the point of view of the well-wishers, of friends or anything, right? What would you do? What do we have to do if someone is expressing their plight? Or how do we address this aspect of them being gaslighted? It's not always that they realize they're going through something. So when we say gyan, what are the things that we might have to avoid saying to them? Even saying that you're brave might be taunting, because they're probably in a situation that they wouldn't be able to get out of. And it seems like you're just trying to say pacifying words, but not giving them solutions as such.
Are they asking for solutions? So you can help them answer certain questions. And this is for the set of people who are going through it, right? So there were two set of people we were talking about. So one who have come out. So for them, I'm saying listen, that's it. But then who are going through it, one aspect is listen and one aspect is nudge through whatever sources. It's not gyan, it's a nudge. Challenge their belief system. So one of the questions that I see here, and I can't read the whole thing, but yeah, one of the questions that is there is that, what if I love or I have affection for the abuser? Right? Now the point is that you can't have a dream that abuser will change. You can't change people, no matter how much you love them. And you can't have, both your feet on different boards. So either accept ki theek hai yaar. There are times I have seen women, they are very okay with getting abused. So you don't complain that you're getting abused, right? Be one side. Love, absolutely, unconditionally. You keep hitting me, I'll keep loving you. If you're happy there, good. But at the end of the day, you owe it to yourself. And yes, who says it's easy? It is not. What I can definitely tell you is that it will be much, much more beautiful. Life can be much, much more beautiful once you get out, set yourself out. There is a video that I show people, and you can find it out on YouTube as well. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? So please do watch it. It's a 16 minutes metaphorical video, and that will help you understand where are you stuck. Now, these are some resources we can give, some of the belief systems we can share. But end of the day, Mamta, we can only do some things if the person wants to do some things. If there are a lot of defenses, a lot of pushbacks, then they're playing a yes but game. This is a mental mind game that games people play is a book that is written by a very famous psychologist. And they say that, you go to these people, they will say, they'll tell you all about what they're going through. Then you start giving them solutions like, yeah, I have done that, but, and they'll start why it can't happen. And the story will continue. So end of the day, you as advice giver, gyan giver, you yourself will become victim. You'll sort of feel, if you're not taking any action, what can I do about it? Then I can't do anything about it. So what is very important is that check your beliefs. Check your beliefs of what is a good girl. Check your beliefs about self-love, esteem. There are times if people are not catering to your esteem, it hurts. Who says dissociation will give you a lot of happiness? No, it hurts in the beginning. Absolutely. Even coming out of a toxic relationship, here's a picture that I have now. Sorry, you're not able to see it, but I'm attached to this picture. If this picture goes away, I'll feel piece of furniture. Yeah, we miss it. But the point is, you need to have a very strong intent of being happy, self-love, and hence the whole story starts with self-love. So what, Mamta, to answer your question, what else can we do? Yes, we can help them understand what is self-love. We can get them onto those journeys rather than directly giving them gyan. We can get them into those journeys, self-exploration, self-love, and everybody has their own speed of understanding and their own journeys. Being with them, yeah.
Yeah, we do have an observation. I think you did see half a bit of it probably. So Geetanjali ma'am says maybe there is denial because of affection for the abuser and a longing for his approval, a sense of guilt and a good for nothing unworthiness that the abuser has instilled in the survivor over a long period of time. If the survivor does something for herself, she has been termed selfish. She's been compared to others, a conditioning that is very difficult to break.
Yeah, and if you say it is difficult to break, it will become difficult to break. My point is, it's a choice. Who has put that conditioning? 3 beliefs, Geetanjali. I am good enough, I am loved enough, and I have enough. Right? These 3 beliefs can completely change these or challenge these, limiting beliefs that have come up. Now you have attached, not you, but the way you're talking about the whole thing. Now you've attached a sense of guilt with what? With your definition of a good girl. Now change the definition of a good girl. So how have we learned? What is a good girl? A good girl is a person who softly speaks, softly walks also. Don't laugh loud. Right? So we have programmed our brain that this is a good girl. Now, if I talk louder, then I'm not a good girl. My brain will start releasing the emotion of guilt. You understand? You change the definitions of good girl. What changed your conditioning? And that is possible using certain techniques. If you're not able to do it yourself, there are some videos that I've created on affirmations, on creating empowering beliefs. You go onto our channel, watch these videos. There is a lot out there to how to change the conditioning. Neuro-Linguistic Programming. This is a branch of, I wouldn't even say psychology, but this is a branch of, these are coaching techniques, right? These are certain techniques that anybody can use. We teach that in our institute as well. And using these techniques, we can reprogram our brain for those definitions that we learned in childhood. I understand that they are difficult to erase because they have been repeated so many times. And if I say A for, what's the first word that comes to your mind, Mamta? A for?
Apple.
Apple. Why? Because we've repeated it so many times and that's the only way brain remembers. So similarly, if you repeat new things, so if Mamta, I tell you every day, start saying A for aeroplane 21 times a day, 30 days in the month, just say A for aeroplane a lot of times, keep writing. Your brain will learn that. This is called neuroplasticity. We are capable of change. All you need to do is create a new belief about a good girl, okay? And start repeating it. Believe in it. Feel. That good girl is the person, I created it for myself, okay? A good girl is a person who loves herself and takes care of herself. A good girl is a person who stands up, who shares her opinion, who shares her point of view, who says no when required, and who builds relationship based on truth, who is respectful. You can create your own definitions. Start telling that to your brain, whatever you think you want to believe, and keep repeating it. That's the concept of affirmation. Feel it. So yes, it can be reprogrammed. Whatever I can see in your note quickly, it is all your programming. It is all what you believe. You can change it. Thank you, Gitanjali. Okay.
I think at this juncture, you can all say A for askreachlawyer@gmail.com and make sure that you pose your legal questions with respect to domestic violence and any issues. Also, I'd like to call Venkatesh sir to address it. Sir.
Such a joy listening to you, and so much of insight into the subject. We have been talking on issues. We have been saying that the women need to make certain choices, and that you came with the kind of explanation of one's own affirmation of one's own self as the core strength for a person, and the process of healing starts somewhere. And it was amazing presentation. I think my language fails to express the kind of feeling that I'm with now after listening to your such a wonderful presentation. It's too small a word for the kind of presentation that you have made. I think the way the discussions has gone in last 6 days, and I think this adds so much of value to it, and it takes it to totally a new way of trying to address. It's always has been, whenever we talk in terms of domestic violence, is that we will talk from the construct of mitigating circumstances. We talk in terms of how to see that such a thing is avoided. We talk in terms of how you can make your life a little better for yourself. But we are not talking in terms of a transformative kind of a thinking, which is needed. I think that's the takeaway today, which I see that how can the transformative kind of thinking can happen? And there's a procedure towards it, the process that need to be done. And it's the same thing is within oneself. One do not have to find it outside the person. Is something, it's an amazing information, and the process which is there. I think we will advise everyone who's watching to go to New Code Talent Academy videos that are on their YouTube channel and watch them. And there's so much more to learn. And Ask Rich Lawyer will be sharing these videos too in all our platforms, because they are much, much needed, because the SOZ program needs that kind of strength, needs that kind of support, needs that kind of expansive understanding of the issue, which is really wanting. One of the major reasons we had in us, the whole process of introducing ReachLawyer Sóz program was the kind of fragmented approach towards this issue of domestic violence. Each one talking from their fragment, and there being no cohesion in respect of the issue is concerned. So therefore, the person who is facing the kind of challenge finds several different views, versions, which do not many times sync. And that results into much amount of, in fact, the grief which he already has, in fact, it gets extended with this kind of confusion which he has to face. I think SOZ was the program we decided that, yes, let's talk, and let's talk more, and let's learn from people. Let's engage with others who have been working on this issue, so that this kind of learning helps the persons whom we are addressing to. I think in that way, it has been an amazing journey so far, and immense thanks to you that you came with where the solution lies. We normally try to find it elsewhere. We always look at, we have to go there, you have to go here, or try to find some solution to it. But it's within oneself, and it's question of one's own understanding and love for oneself. I think that's a great way of approach towards this issue. So immense thanks. Ask ReachLawyer is a place where you can ask questions. In fact, we request the audience to say that anyone you find who is in need of support, inform them, because we have all these people. We have today such wonderful set of people, such wonderful amount of information and knowledge that we have. We'll be sharing all these aspects with you and much more from the resources that we have, like the diversity dialogues which we had today, or Ms. Ann Thomas has been working on these issues, or we have Sheila Ramaswamy who has been working on these issues, or the Professor Sarsu Thomas who has been working on these issues. An amazing experience of Muttama Devaya, and today we have Bindu Bhatia. There is a whole body of resources which these people have created and have been working on years on end. And all those resources, we will certainly collect them and we will share it with you, because sharing that kind of information is, I feel, is the key towards understanding the issue better, trying to address trying to find answers and the way to address such issues. I think it's been a great talk. Immense thanks. We will be troubling you, and we'll be associating ourselves with Newcourt Talent Academy, and we will be asking for more information, because there is so many people who come to us, so many people who are in need of this kind of support, so many people who are seeking answers to so many questions that they have, because these things open up. In fact, as you said in the beginning, that a person goes through 300 emotions in a day, and there are approximately more than 25,000 recorded emotions that people have. It was an eye-opener for us, that we always think in just less than 10, not more than 10. Our limitation is stuck with numbers less than 10. And that something is a shocker, that the possibilities of emotions are so more, and understanding them, how it's going to help us and bettering ourselves, making our lives more beautiful, more simple, more easier. I think immense thanks on that count. I'll request the host, Mamata, to speak up. And everyone who is here, just any issue, any friend you have, anyone who is in trouble, if you feel that you need an advice, just ask reachlawyer@gmail.com. All that you need to do is a mail one. That's something which is needed. Yes, Mamata, to you.
Thank you so much, sir. Ma'am, it was an insightful discussion involving impromptu questions, and I think it was very creative how you answered a lot of our queries, including some things that we didn't address. I also really like the aspect of being a friend or a well-wisher being addressed, because a lot of us may or may not go through domestic violence. I think even if we come across someone, we can address that, and of course ask reachlawyer@gmail.com is always there. I also thank sir for this opportunity, and my team, Tusharika and Nitin behind the scenes, and Gargi. I would also request everyone here to switch your videos on so that we can have a quick picture.
Ravi is left. Smita, madam, please come on.
Geetanjali ma'am and Smita ma'am.
Yes,
Not-
Geetanjali.
Not in a good state, sir, for a photo shoot.
It doesn't matter.
No.
You are good.
Please do excuse me. I'm so sorry, but I would have loved to pose because it was a wonderful talk.
Thank you very much. Such a joy.